Welcome to the Celluloid Mirror, a film discussion podcast presented by 4 Mile Circus, a media services company based in Brooklyn that produces original films, videos, podcasts, and more. I am one of your hosts, Sean Mannion.
And I am the other one of your hosts, Nicole Solomon. And this is a mini episode we're bringing to you today, and it is all about you, our listeners, as well as some of the feedback and thoughts that you have been kind enough to share with us about our first couple of episodes. We've gotten a few reviews, and some of you have also reached out to us directly over social media or some other method. Are there other methods?
Yeah, a couple of people were. The messages came from some over social media. A couple of people who have our emails emailed us, or actually, we give out an email. Some people emailed us, and one or two are friends who text messaged.
Okay. We have friends?
I have friends.
I didn't know this was a friends having podcast. Well, so if you're Sean's friend, you can feel free to text him. Or you can reach out to either of us over social, email, etc. But so what are some of these messages that you got, Mr. Popularity?
One that was really fun. I think the first message that I got was from my friend Sam, who is one of my oldest friends. And he reached out after the first episode, and he and his wife had this idea for a game after they listened to the episode together, our first episode on funny games and Transformers. And the way he described this game when he messaged me is one of you links movie A and movie B through a theme or motif. The next person links movie B to movie C with a different theme or motif. The first person links movie C to movie D, etc., etc. It's good for road trips. And Sam's favorite one so far, because I guess they just started playing the game, was Clueless and Passion of the Christ. Both of them rely on particular language to create a specific space and time and fully realize the director's vision. He went on to tell me I didn't copy all of this over to quote it because it was a lot. But he was talking about specifically Clueless using the Valley Girl accent and speech patterns and what do you call it? Fancy words young people use. Slang. That's the word.
Wow.
I couldn't remember the word for slang.
Right there with you. I know. I keep
slang and all that, and then Passion of the Christ uses Aramaic.
Yeah.
I am told I have not bothered to see it because I don't care.
Nor have I. But then we could potentially, as we were Instagram messaging to each other, because why not use all the different venues of communication we could use?
It's true.
One could then link Passion to the Christ to the Exorcist.
Which we will be talking about in our next episode.
And you'll have to wait for that to see what the connection is.
It's true.
Unless it's very obvious to you, because it's not that.
There's some obvious connections between The Exorcist and Passion of the Christ. There's the whole, Jesus thing.
Also, the possibility that they're two of the few examples that I think might be justified in being called torture porn.
Yeah.
Arguably.
Kind of see that. Arguably.
I could make that argument. I'm not sure if I'm committed to that argument, but I could make it. But I like this. I like this comment so much, Sean, because it was about games.
Games are fun. It's a fun game, and I think people should play Sam and his wife's game.
I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna give it a try. And listen,
what else do people have to do? We're gonna be on lockdown for another 6 months anyway.
Oh, we sure are. We're lucky if it'll only be that long. Or the alternative is we're not under lockdown. It's just like everybody just die already.
I'm pretty sure that's what we're at.
Yeah.
That's just what it is. They're just like, fuck it, whatever.
So,
nobody cares anymore.
If you're trying to, prolong the time before your inevitable early death, you could play some games while you're stuck at home. Like you could play Sam's game. You could be our patron, and then
that's true.
Then you would have access to our patron exclusive Funny Games review bingo card.
Yes.
And
if you recall, go ahead.
You don't even have to watch Funny Games is the beautiful thing. You just need to read a review of Funny Games, and you too can play Funny Games reviewer bingo.
So if people recall from our first episode, which I'm sure they've already listened to, absorbed,
they've memorized it, everything.
We talked a lot about the reviews, and so the bingo card that Nicole came up with for it yeah, it hits on a lot of the things that we were talking about. Plus some extra fun stuff, I think, that we didn't quite hit.
Yes, it's that nice part of what's cool about having a Patreon is you can, a lot of stuff that doesn't fit in the episode, you can kind of expand on there, which is something we'll probably be doing more of moving forward. And probably some of those times will be in game format. I don't see this as being our last game.
We are prone to making up games.
That
we made up a game for karaoke, which we hosted a little a Zoom Halloween party recently.
Some of you were there. Probably.
Some of them.
Some of you were there. Some of you were not there. Some of you were invited and not there. Just saying. Just saying.
She sounds sore about it, guys. You should text her.
I don't know, but I have no friends, so why would they? No one has my number. This might be part of why they didn't show up to my Halloween karaoke party. They're like, what is this lady?
Oh, what is Nicole doing?
But so what was the game we played? Because I don't remember.
We have a game, and we've done this at 2 events now, 3 events. I think 2.
At least 2.
Yeah, I Zoom, and we did another Halloween party
in person in the before times.
Yeah, and it's a game called Karaoke Roulette, where you do not pick the karaoke song that you are going to be singing. You volunteer, and you are randomly assigned a karaoke song. Now, that was what I pitched to Nicole is, we just randomly assign people karaoke songs. And she said, well, that's really, like, we gotta narrow it down at least and tell them, at least give them a sense of what they could be singing. And that's called compromise. That's how we get by in the world, people. A little lesson for you. A little lesson about growing up.
We'll be talking about that on our next episode too, when we discuss It's a Wonderful Life.
Wait, we're discussing It's a Wonderful Life and The Exorcist together? What could those movies have in common?
Stay tuned and find out.
So to continue on with the wonderful listener feedback that we got.
What else did people say?
So another podcaster who started her show right around the same time ours got started, Alana from the Girl Presses Play podcast sent us a message. She said that listening to the first of CM, so Celluloid Mirror, that's what CM stands for. Right now, really loving the discussion. I thought the concept of confronting audience expectations in regards to funny games was so interesting. I really didn't like it upon first viewing, but might need to do it again. And then she had a suggestion for us where she was thinking for her show about maybe trying to compare Midsommar and Snow White, based around this Snow White really dies theory. But she couldn't quite she was saying that she couldn't quite find her way to it yet, but that she thought that might be a fun idea for us. And I know Midsommar is a movie that we would really like to discuss, maybe, and Snow White as well. Yeah. In fact, that's why Mirror is in our title, is because of Snow White.
Fun fact, we considered calling it Mirror Mirror, even though it doesn't say Mirror Mirror in the film Snow White. It says Magic Mirror on the wall.
It's true.
But
everybody
still
says Mirror Mirror.
But Magic Mirror's like a little bit less on point than Mirror Mirror would have been. Not that we decided to use it as a title anyway, but it did get us thinking about mirrors.
It's true. We thought a lot about mirrors. There was a lot of mirror thinking, and a few sad moments where we couldn't quite use the name that we wanted because somebody else was using the name that we wanted.
But we persevered.
Stuff happens.
We found our way through. We compromised.
We did. We compromised. I feel very compromised.
I feel constantly compromised because I'm such an adult. So what else did people say about... What else did your friends say, Sean? We should just call the mini episodes Sean's Friends Talk About.
Sean's Friends Talk About the show. Also, somebody, a mutual acquaintance. Well, actually, I think both of the last people I would say, are at least mutual acquaintances.
Oh, yeah.
You met Sam once.
I met Sam.
You've met Alana.
Didn't we all see a movie together, or did we just... I remember it was at the Alamo Draft House.
I think we were all just hanging out at the Alamo.
Okay. I mean, I remember hanging out with Sam and you and Jess, Sean's wife. You know.
Did we see a movie? I don't know if
we might have just met up there.
Because it was like, I don't think that there was anything to see. I think we'd all seen everything that was
Well,
anyway.
I did meet Sam, and I have met Alana, and I have also met this next person many times.
Many times. Sky, who's a mutual acquaintance of ours, he said he thinks that the show is really terrific. He's listened to half of at the time he messaged us, he had listened to half the first episode and really enjoyed it so far.
Which I have to say, I really appreciate somebody being like, you know what, this is so good that I just need to let them know right now. Like, still with my headphones on, thank you, Sky.
I'm just going to let him know.
Appreciate that.
He hasn't seen Funny Games, and he probably won't after listening to the show. And I'm like, that's fine. It's not for everyone. It's an intense thing. I
don't think Sky needs to watch Funny Games.
No.
I don't think Sky needs to confront his own relationship to cinema violence in the way some of us do.
Yeah, I don't think he does.
I don't know.
I don't think he does. He doesn't seem like the type who needs to. But he does remember being devastated by Transformers the movie as a kid. And as he said, honestly, I didn't buy any of the new characters introduced in the movie and just kept playing with Optimus as if nothing had happened, as it should be.
I love that comment. I think that piece was like maybe my favorite piece of feedback we've gotten, is just that personal anecdote about denying the cinematic reality that had been foisted upon you and using that childhood innocent creativity to just create your own world.
It's magic.
Moves me.
And as he says, so he guesses the marketing strategy didn't work. And I guess he didn't know that Nimoy and Wells were voice actors on it. And he just said, great job. So thank you, Sky. And then what?
I was just going to say, you listeners, you can also feel free to tell us great job.
Anytime they want, they can just, as we've said before, our email is info@4milecircus.com. We're available on the social medias, 4 Mile Circus, on the Twitters and the Facebooks and the Instagrams.
And may Sky be a possibility model for you of the sorts of thoughtful, kind feedback that you could give us.
Yeah, just say congratulations and good job. Just do it. We need positive feedback.
We're hurting here. It's not an easy time for any of us in 2020.
I mean, it's not like we're gonna stop.
I mean, we might seem like we've got it all together as big deal podcasters with our fancy show.
I can't even say that with a straight face.
I couldn't. But we could still use positive reinforcement.
Positive reinforcement is great. We love positive reinforcement. Like positive reinforcement from Amanda. You actually know Amanda as well. So see, they're not all just my friends.
They're your friends who I also know.
Exactly. That's almost like having a friend I know, because that's what my entire childhood was. Almost like having a friend. So Amanda, her boyfriend, a friend of ours, Miles, had just played her the episode, and she wanted to say congrats and great job. Look at that. More positive reinforcement from Amanda. Isn't that wonderful?
Thank you, Amanda.
We all just love positive reinforcement.
And thank you, Miles, for playing our podcast for Amanda also.
Exactly.
It's amazing.
Corner your beloved spouses and partners, and just corner them in a room with a speaker and make them listen. Make them listen to the podcast.
Like Lloyd Dobler with that boombox, but with our podcast. Just
slightly less stalkery, just a little bit. Like already be in the relationship.
Okay. All right.
You know?
Yeah.
You know?
So what did Amanda say about when Miles played our podcast for her?
Well, she'd never watched either Funny Games or Transformers.
So she said that was really boring.
So she said it was really boring. Actually, no. She said she found the conversation so interesting, thought-provoking, and enjoyable to listen to. Absolutely loved it. Looking forward to more episodes. Well, we have more episodes for you. We're recording one right now, Amanda. Thank you.
And there's also another episode yet to drop as we record this that will have dropped by the time it comes out. But Amanda hasn't heard it yet.
Not yet. Not in, time. What is it?
Oh, nothing. Except an illusion. But we got reviews too, didn't we?
Yeah, do you want to read some of these reviews?
Sure. We got a review from...
Where do people leave these reviews?
Well,
Where can I leave a review, Nicole?
I think Apple Podcasts is the main place. Are there reviews on Stitcher?
I don't think the other ones have reviews, do they?
The only ones I've seen are from Apple Podcasts, but I don't know. Maybe we've got like a whole treasure trove of kindness waiting for us on Podbean. I don't know. I haven't checked.
Okay.
Let us know if you leave a review someplace other than Apple.
I have gone looking in the other ones just to make sure when I put this stuff together for this. So, but I don't think the other ones do reviews. I could be wrong.
Apple certainly does, and on Apple, somebody who I might have an idea who this person is. Their handle is the Cipher Host.
Hey, didn't your partner used to host a podcast named The Cipher?
I don't know what you're talking about. This is somebody else, I think.
There must be something else because that podcast it doesn't. They're not doing it anymore. So
no,
this person can't possibly be the host of that podcast.
No, it can't be the Cipher podcast that was initially my idea in the first place or anything. Nothing I have a connection to, nothing like that.
Somebody sounds like you got something unresolved.
Oh, no. Very resolved. I had to, in fact, tell my husband to stop thanking me at the end of the episode every time. Because I was like, you've thanked me for like 100 episodes. It's enough. It's fine. So I feel very acknowledged. He tells everybody that like it's not
that it was your idea.
Yeah. And I mean, not the Cipher as it was, but to start a podcast of interviews that he was doing at the time. I said
that makes sense.
It was specifically a Jean Grey interview he did. The first time he interviewed Jean Grey, I was listening to it and I was like, this is so good. I think instead of doing like transcribing it and doing various other things he was going to do with it, I was like, you should just take this whole interview and you should start a podcast and you should put your interviews on it because the entirety of this is really fucking good. And I think other people other than me would want to hear it. And it turns out that was the case.
True. So true. But whoever this is, what did they say?
This other Cipher Host says, an incredible idea done expertly. That's the subtitle of the review. I think that says it all, but let's read a little more just in case there's more to say. Two hosts consistently find movies to pair that are unexpected and surprising and that reveal each other's depths. The talk is smart and accessible. It's unlike any other movie podcast out there. Highly recommend. I will say, even though this is obviously not my husband who wrote this review.
Not at all.
Not at all. But my husband also has actually listened to every episode and spoken to me about it and claims at least to like it a lot as well. So that's, at least two people connected to something called The Cipher who like our podcast, which I think means mathematically everybody loves it.
I think that must be true.
What other reviews? I
think that must be true. Well, let's see. We got another review. Now I don't think we know who this one is from.
I mean, it may be someone we know, but I don't know who.
Yes, it says
obviously not a friend of mine because we've established I have no friends.
No friends.
Just a husband who likes
may
my
or may
podcast,
not have a review, but we don't know.
We don't know shit.
So, but go drink yourself. Which, okay.
What do they say?
A weird and wonderful film podcast. I love how unexpected yet insightful their technique of comparing films is. Hosts Sean and Nicole have clearly thought a lot about the films and done their homework. If you want some deep cut film theory talk, this is a great podcast to listen to.
Thank you, Go Drink Yourself. That was a very kind review.
Yes. And I feel like we probably do know this person, and we should know what the handle is, but it's just not clicking. It's not clicking. I'm sure of it. I'm sure we must know this person.
We're not marketing ourselves.
And I feel bad that we don't know.
Sean, we're not marketing ourselves as the sharpest crayons in the box. It's okay.
No, just that we can read articles.
What we don't know could fill many crayon boxes. But however, Mars the Black Planet also has a review.
Yes.
And should we say what they have to say?
Yes, we should. Why don't you read that off for us?
I'll read it off for us. Great.
It's quite a lot.
Yeah, quite a lot. Sean Mannion and Nicole Solomon tee up two unrelated pieces of cinema and spin thoughtful conversations about how they reflect our relationships as viewers to the form. You won't find a more interesting exploration of how art collides with the ways in which we consume it. That's the pull quote right there. Mannion and Solomon's relationship as collaborators carries from their 4 Mile Circus podcast into this one with seamless aplomb. Check it out and learn some cool things from people who are most likely smarter than you about the history of film. Cheers. Thank you. Just thanks.
It's very complimentary. And for completely unrelated reasons, people should listen to the Brothers from Another Planet podcast and Taped Off TV. I should listen to Taped Off TV, not because either of those would be likely related to that particular
review. No, we don't have any guess
so.
Of who this reviewer is at all.
No,
but those are just two podcasts that I enjoy a lot.
Yeah, I still need to listen to Taped Off TV. I just get really sucked into Brothers from Another Planet, though, with Lamar and Don and Tarek, who we had on our old show before, which was a lot of fun. And those guys are great, and it's been a really interesting listen since over the last couple months with all the shit going down. They get together every week and do like an hour and a half or 2 hour long recording session, and they're just talking, and it's really it's an interesting download. And the way that they talk to each other and the way that they relate with one another is sort of, you're like, oh, I'm angry with you, but also like I feel that, like you feel that kind of
camaraderie and
hope. That's the word I was looking for. The camaraderie and the kind of like love in the room with those guys, even though they're not in the room together.
But they're also just really smart, funny guys, and it's very nice to hear them kind of processing a lot of somewhat upsetting, perhaps, material.
Yeah,
it's.
I mean,
I remember after the 2016 election, actually listening to their post-election episode and it being really helpful to me at a time when I was feeling very devastated, to hear other people kind of like processing and working through stuff in a way that helped me kind of start to imagine a path forward rather than just being like, this is real bad and I'm not sure what exactly to do right now. And so, check out their stuff. It's really good. And they're all working on a bunch of other projects as well. Check out their
Tarek is on a couple of things, actually. If you watch HBO, he's on The Undoing. And if you Peacock, he's the Ed McMahon to Amber Ruffin.
Yeah.
He's delightful and charming on that. We watch it every week. It's great.
And all three of them worked on the short film Page One that which is great. And check it out. It's a horror short that's also like meta commentary on race in horror movies and the black guy dies first cliche, and it's great. So before we say goodbye to these fine folks, is there anything else we want to plug? Anything else we've been watching, listening to, we want to share besides?
What have you been watching, Nicole?
I have been watching a lot of Marlon Riggs because Criterion...
Well, that's nice to know.
It is nice to know because...
No, go ahead. Sorry.
The Criterion Channel right now has the complete work of Marlon Riggs available on their streaming service. And this is a big deal because his work is really hard to find. He's just an absolutely seminal, crucially important experimental documentary filmmaker who made some excellent shorts and features in the late 80s through like mid 90s. I first came across his work in high school when I saw his film Color Adjustment, which is a film specifically about the history of Black representation on television. It's not a formal sequel, but it kind of functions as a sequel to, I believe, his first feature documentary, which is called Ethnic Notions, and is about Black representation kind of in pop culture and American culture in general, like prior to the advent of television. So you kind of can see, if you watch Ethnic Notions first and then you watch Color Adjustment, you're getting this like longer arc of history and seeing the connections between, what we see in film and television through today to the minstrel shows and vaudeville of yore, as well as all sorts of racist knickknacks and curios and things that were just such a part of the culture in the United States, and kind of what all that's about, what it was designed to perpetuate, what functions it serves now, what the legacies are, etc. So I really feel like these are really important films for anybody who cares about culture, especially pop culture, and, racism, and at all. They're really important works. And he also made the film Tongues Untied. That was probably his most famous film because it was tied into the NEA funding culture wars, because it's a film about that's focused a lot on Black gay men specifically, and got some NEA funding. And so a lot of conservatives were just enraged about this supposedly pornographic film that, and when it's a beautiful and incredibly important film. And his final documentary was Black Is, Black Ain't, that he died of AIDS-related complications, unfortunately, while that film was still in post-production. That's the last one I've watched recently, and it's a really, really emotional film just about what does Blackness mean, basically, and how ways in which the category can include and exclude people, often especially focused around sexuality and the AIDS crisis, is kind of a touchstone point there. But it's a beautiful film. It's experimental formally in a lot of ways. It's incredible work. He also has a bunch of great shorts, and I don't know what's up with the licensing, but they just tend to not be available other than to school libraries and things like that. The most of what I saw either when I was in high school or when I was in college, and I had access to the Bopst library at NYU, even though I did not go to NYU. And I would go and sit in a cubicle basically and put on headphones, and you could watch films they had in their library. And so that's how I was I've got to watch all the Marlon Riggs stuff. And since then, I caught Tongues Untied about 2 years ago at BAM when they did a retrospective. And it was a really big deal that BAM was doing a retrospective, because I have been trying to show my husband these films for 16 years. And just being these are some of my favorite documentaries that were the most formative to my filmic and political kind of coming to consciousness, I guess. And it just couldn't fucking find them anywhere. Not even to buy or anything. So
Interesting. I wonder what the licensing on those is. That's weird.
It's got to have to do with there was some kind of educational licensing that happened, and
that makes sense.
I don't really know, though. I'm just hoping that since Criterion was able to get licensing for his full catalog, I would really love to see them put out a box set. I have tweeted at them about this and been please.
It's not on their calendar or anything?
I haven't seen it, but not when I checked. So I'm hopeful that'll happen. But as long as it's up there now, if you have Criterion, please watch this stuff. If you don't have Criterion, I think you can get a free trial. There isn't.
Yeah, I think they have a week free trial again. Yeah.
Which is plenty of time to honestly watch his complete catalog. There's obviously not a million, but many, many other excellent films on the Criterion Channel as well. But if that overwhelms you, just go right to the Marlon Riggs collection and just watch literally everything there. And, the features, none of them are, I think they're all under 90 minutes. It's not a huge time commitment, but really, really good stuff, and stuff that was really nice for me to watch while watching actually some of the films we're going to be talking about the podcast. They almost were commenting on them in certain ways that was helpful to me in thinking about some of the material I was thinking through.
What you were talking about, good documentaries, got me to think about the documentary stuff that I've been watching recently. Actually, I watched one right before we sat down to record. Class Action Park.
I've been wanting to watch that.
It's okay. It's half of it is fun. Hey, remember the 80s and we all worked at this park and man, then you could get really hurt. And then it turns into like, okay, but then there was the serious stuff if people died. And then it kind of wraps up with this thing about how the park is kind of a good metaphor or good way of looking at like growing up in the 80s and the early 90s and kind of that time, because of that unstructured time that these kids had and the consequences and the sort of feelings about that time where they are both like, oh, we did this fucked up stuff and wasn't it cool? But that one of them said was something interesting. I think it was a comedian, Chris Gethard, is interviewed throughout the whole thing. And one of the things he said was, yeah, one of us will get like drunk and talk about like, oh, we did all this fucked up stuff when we were a kid. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that cool? But then we go and talk to our therapist and all we talk about is, wasn't that fucked up? And true. I'm like, this is really interesting now. Like, it was fun to hear about all the other stuff and the antics and and all of that. A little bit about how the park is connected to like the guy who's the subject of Wolf of Wall Street. Oh, that like asshole. He was friends with that guy, I think, if I understood right. And and it had a vague almost connection to Trump. So, I mean, it fits in with this whole, like, there's a lot of like sketchy stuff that was happening. And it doesn't, it's one of those things where I'm like, I like what your end wrap up is, but I don't think you earned it. I don't think you built to it. You spent too much time with the, oh, what a great time we had. Yeah. And which is, okay. But it also makes me think of, and what you're talking about also makes me think of, I've watched both of the Nxivm documentary series, which leads me to,
how did you watch the Starz one?
The Starz one? We have Starz.
Oh, you have Starz?
Yeah, Jess likes Outlander, so we have Starz. And actually, I recommend Starz. It has like the best search function.
I can't pay for another streaming service.
No, don't pay for another one. But like, if you end up in a position where you're like, maybe I'll do another one, Starz has the best. Like, you can sort by year. You can just sort, it actually breaks out like comedies and stuff like that in a way that makes sense. And then you can go like, okay, sort by release date, or just, you can even just like checkbox, just show me 80s and 90s stuff. And it's like, yes, thank you. They don't have as much as other places, but their search and sort functions are way better, and everybody else should adopt that. I don't know what the fuck everybody else is doing. Anyway, we watched them both. And first of all, if everything could stop being a series that only needs to be one movie, that would be fantastic, because neither of those needs to be a whole ass series. They don't have enough. They're also both like, this is maybe me being too cynical, but they're also both such PR cleanup things for the subjects that I think that, and this is not to say that like I don't believe anything that's happening or being discussed in any of them, but the way they kind of gloss over everybody's involvement who's involved with the documentaries.
In the Starz one too, because I've heard that critique a lot of the HBO one, which I think
it's harder to critique the Starz one, and I'm kind of an asshole for doing it because the subject is,
I know who the subject is. She's the woman who in the HBO one, her mom is trying to rescue her the whole time.
Exactly, Oxenberg. And that kind of that comes into it, but it's very much about rehabilitating her image. And I'm not saying that she's as bad as anybody or anything like that. I just do think that like I would rather have had, yes, use her as the through line for much of the conversation, but they kept talking to other people who were affected, other victims, and they were having her talk to them. And they were cutting to her responding to them more than they were cutting to their stories. And I was just like, yes, okay, she's a victim to India. I completely am on board with that, but this just feels like a PR piece and everybody sounds scripted to me. And come on, I believe everything that you're saying. I totally believe everything that you're saying, and everybody here is a bastard. Completely on board with that. The PR thing is really turning me off. So like documentaries that are kind of used that are not quite, I think, hitting. You just made me think of those with your discussion of that. Not that I wouldn't recommend any of those. The Class Action Park's really fun. The Nxivm ones I think are worth looking at and really taking some time to think about how people are affected by these groups and all of that. I think the groupthink stuff and cults and all of that is very, very relevant to so many parts of life today, and why people start to believe certain things. But anyway, as you said, we do need to wrap up, and we are running over time, and we do have to record our next episode with young Mr. Liam Billingham of the OeuvreBusters, which is another podcast people should listen to.
Young Liam.
But just to wrap up, this is our first of these mini episodes, and I think it's we're trying it out as a way to incorporate audience feedback. We include questions for the audience at the end of the episodes, and we weren't ever really sure how we were going to incorporate it. We just really like the idea of it being more of a conversation. So hopefully, please leave reviews, leave comments, send us messages on places, and let us know what you think about this or any of the other episodes. We would love to be able to kind of make it a little bit more of a back and forth as much as possible.
Yeah, tell us what you think about the questions we pose. Tell us what we're right about, what we're wrong about, whatever you have to say. We'll take it. We're not that sensitive. It's true. And just to prep people for the next episode, before we get into that, I did want to share. I did some informal polling on the Instantgrams. It wasn't as popular on the tweeters, so I'll just talk about the Instantgrams. We asked people. I'm not going to go through all the questions we asked, but I did ask people: is The Exorcist scary? And it came back with 62% yes, 38% no. There were some further questions about people's history with religion and such. I also asked people how they felt about It's a Wonderful Life, and way too many people, 69% over 31%, just don't like it for some reason, because they probably have seen it once and then are just like, oh, yeah, I've seen it a million times. They play it every holiday. They play it every Christmas. It also has a reputation that I think is not really fair. No, I don't think that the reputation is fair. There's plenty to critique about it. If you don't like it, that's fine. Yeah. There's plenty of reasons not to like it. I just think most people tend to dislike it for the reasons I disliked it as a child, which were dumb. Because then when I rewatched it as an adult, I was like, this movie isn't even what I think it is. There's there's this idea of what It's a Wonderful Life is in the United States that isn't really manifested in the film itself. No, it's not. It's all the media that has grown up around it, and all the talk that has been and jokes that have been around It's a Wonderful Life have fed a certain attitude towards the movie that's unearned. But we'll talk about all of that in the next episode, which is one of the reasons why I want to mention it in this one, because you should be looking out for the next episode very soon. I believe our plan is about mid-December, almost the end of December. Just in time right for Christmas. Right in time for Christmas. So that'll be the next thing after this. So thank you so much for joining us. Did you have anything else you wanted to wrap up with, Nicole? Hell no. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and we will catch you on our next episode. Bye-bye. Bye.